Growing up in the early 2000s, anime was very special to me. Not only as an inspiration, both consciously and unconsciously, but also because of these worlds they presented to my little brain, devoid of the limitations both real life and live action movies had. The only limitation was your own imagination. And I was so invested in this niche Japanese animation market that if the Soul Eater episode 59 Suspañol part 1 of 3 did not have the second part on YouTube, I would reach the ends of the internet just to end each and every series I found. Some stories that I never finished growing up though were the video games ones. I was a dumb kid who grew up to be a dumb teenager, and due to a severe lack of skill issue, I did not have the same amount of success finishing in said stories. But I loved both these different worlds regardless, and like myself, many others were in this situation. If in the early 2000s you did a Venn diagram of these fandoms, I think the one in the middle that conveys those who like both mediums is far greater than the one that only resembles anime fans exclusively. And this fact would not be ignored by the anime industry, and in the next few years, it will explore this link up between both mediums. And nowadays, the apex of it is none other than vastly underrated and undertalked online.
Shangri-La Frontier.
The video game subgenre was really oversaturated in the early 2010s, and for a teenager at the time that loved both industries, I always felt that most anime at the time were really lackluster and soulless. And the big difference I see from the shows that I watched back then and Shangri-La now is a very simple one at its core. Shangri-La Frontier understands the appeal of video games. The sentiment that I talked earlier about both medias being able to take you to a new world was never something that I felt with the subgenre in the early 2010s, and the criticism that I have for that feeling expands itself to the 2025 and its play in the anime market nowadays, the isekai subgenre. The Venn diagram that I talked about still applies to this day. This has zero fact check, by the way, it's just something that I say based on my experiences online. I would say about 90% or even more of the anime community today understands the basic gaming slash RPG concepts and its worlds. And this familiarity created the big wave of isekai that you are seeing being published every season. The basic premise being a protagonist of modern day Japan be transported to a world that resembles this one, of both we, the audience, and the protagonist are aware of the concepts and how they work, made it so the bar for creative world building for these types of stories be an all-time low. Just a world and a generic setting, a generic power system based on leveling up, generic items, generic social classes, and generic demi-human slash races. Don't get me wrong, I am not a hater for all isekai, there are some very good ones who take the premise to new heights and break the mold of its subgenre. But in 2025, where you can put off the most uninspiring setup and somehow people will still consume, Shangri-La takes its time and effort into making the world it takes place in be something other than the aforementioned setups. And when I mention world building, it's not only the world building inside of Shangri-La the game, but also the world outside it, and its ties with the biggest strength the series has in understanding the appeal of video games. This probably is coming out as an aggressive take, but one thing you can understand right away while watching Shangri-La is that the author, Katrina, wants to tell a story about someone who loves video games, while many of the series that I consumed earlier feel more like the authors wanted to tell a fantasy story and just use the video game aspect of it to skip some steps in creating a world. Because video games at its core are supposed to be fun. You can play it to experience other reactions, of course. I don't think horror games are supposed to be fun, but a majority of games, if they have a larger and deeper narrative at play, are supposed to be fun experiences for the player, which is a heavy contrast with the majority of the premises of the video games anime of the start of the 2010s. There was this obsession with putting really high stakes on the plot. Either the protagonist is trapped, they can't leave the game, or if he dies in the game, he dies in real life, or something of the sort. This is why I said many stories were only using the video game premise as a means to an end and not really having the interest of telling a story about video games. The stakes in Shangri-La are lowered to match the experience of video games in real life, not a life and death situation at play, but rather the game stakes of losing, meaning you are going to lose levels or rewards in the game, are enough to put both the protagonist and the audience at the edge of our seats. This faithful representation of what it is like to be a gamer, and by gamer I mean somebody who plays video games, I don't want to be part of this dumb debate, is what makes Shangri-La world shine so bright. This brings me back to my original point. Shangri-La's world building is great compared to its peers. I think you can look at it within two layers. The inside one being Shangri-La, the video game world, and this is where we spend most of our time, and is unlike the other video game slash isekai worlds I mentioned earlier, that base their world on pre-existing knowledges of the audiences. Here, we see a careful thought into the world, from the locations to the NPCs to the clans of the players, and the way they act towards this world. Everything feels more unique than the average 6 world title isekai, and with more time Sanraku puts into the game, we see more and more of this world. The second layer being the world outside Shangri-La Frontier. We frequently go outside the VR system, which is refreshing to the series of its kind, and it also helps develop the world of the game wherever Sunrock searches for lore on the internet, and we get to know some of the players we follow throughout the story. None of the players have this deep battle shonen backstory, but have enough characterizations makes you care for them. This love for video games that Cortina has is furthermore seen in the second layer. From time to time, Sanraku has a very human feeling, the urge to try something new. And so, instead of playing Shangri-La, the author is extremely comfortable in taking breaks with the main game and letting the protagonist experience other games. It goes without saying that these are completely different genres of gaming and worlds in both setting and aesthetics, and in some cases the fighting seems dynamic completely shifts using the full potential of a premise being a video game story. All of this while still being intelligent enough to give us a different experience, but not let it be filler. Every time this happens, we step out of Shangri-La, the plot of the overall story never stops moving, and it's through these games that we can also grasp a simple concept: power level. One of the shortcuts I mentioned earlier many writers take in the industry is the implementation of RPG like power systems in their world. And though it sure does work well in the video game industry because you, the player, grind in the game, watch the numbers get bigger, and be happy because that means you improved. But when you translate it to any other media, it does not get as interesting neither on paper nor execution. But due to the type of game Shangri-La is trying to replicate in this series, how are we going to tackle that problem? Sanraku does grow stronger when his level increases, and you watch as he grinds towards getting other levels. But it is with the games he plays besides Shangri-La that you understand how great at video games he really is. Instead of the setup of he is really good because he played a lot and his levels are above everyone else's, you get a protagonist that is very creative in the way that he plays every game he does. And for us, the audience, is way more enjoyable than bland power fantasy overpowered protagonist. To finish this off, I believe the characters are the heart and soul of this show. Not really deep, but well written enough that make it work in a series like this. As of right now, only one of the characters has what you can consider a somewhat deeper reason to play video games. And I like that touch, but most of them are just regular Joes chilling and having the time of their lives, while using the most stupid character designs. I am liking the way they are developing the dynamics between them so far, especially in the clans, and you can see them getting interested in the story and the lore of the game, and you want to experience what they're going through, exploring this world, and fighting their epic battles. A true love letter to both anime and video games.
So first of all, guys, sorry for taking your time, but I really need help. Basically, I've had a video that I've written since like October, and I've uploaded it only on February. That was when I could, but it got taken down by copyright. I saw iPatches Wolf is basically a video about WWE. I saw iPatches Wolf talk about how also he had problems because of copyright issues, but ultimately could get the video up. And this doesn't give me any money or anything. I do this merely as a hobby, but it was something that I did take a lot of time, and it's like a 46-minute video long. I did not want it to not go up. So if you know any way that you can please help me try to bypass the copyright laws, because at this point in time YouTube support has not been really helpful, um, I would truly appreciate that. And that's all. If you can help me, please do write something in the comments. If so, sorry for taking your time, and just have a blessed rest of the day.